Yeah, the number seven reference, and I think this is number seven in that whole International Criminal Court charge sheet reading, was the reference to the ARPA H. So it's literally ARPA dash H. And this is the particularly health related WHO related advanced research projects. So, what I didn't like about ARPA-H from a human experience point of view is they don't refer to soldiers as soldiers or men at arms or anything like that. They call them war fighters, which for me really rings of pawns on an outreach mission for a corporation. And war fighters are the ones that have been explicitly, at least, maybe all of us at this stage have been covertly, but explicitly, ARPA-H has been doing these treating people in the field, injecting people in the field, self-assembling technologies for surgery in the field, like remotely. All that has been done by ARPA-H, and these platforms are being used already. Then, of course, number eight, a recent affidavit, actually, another silent procedure by the World Health Organization. What that basically means is they have a deadline that they put in place, and they don't tell anybody it's coming up. And if nobody active, when I say nobody, I'm talking about health ministers or heads of state, both of whom are very likely to be benefiting from the financially from the outcomes of these. But unless one of those, the head of state or the health minister, World Health Assembly, representative from your nation, actually writes and says no, no, then it's considered passed. And so passed and agreed, like fully consensually agreed. So we wrote about the IHR amendments, International Health Regulation amendments. There's just so many massive conflicts of interest. And we talked about the collapse of the life insurance market in July 2025, which showed that what the powers that be hadn't focused on was how many people were going to die, and cash in their life insurance. So that has been a very interesting development. But more obviously than that, if you have a group like, for example, the UN World Health Organization, who have advised and advised and advised, and there's been a huge amount of repercussions, no evidence to support the advice, and really so many repercussions and tragedy as a result of their arbitrary decisions during the lockdown. They're pushing for warp speed drugs. Their refusal to have any sort of feedback loop about adverse effects or rejections, or that in fact that treaty and the amendments have no. They have an article that says no observations are allowed. What observations? Observations are very important. An observation in a national treaty says, oh, we agree to inject everybody, apart from in the case of, say, pregnant mothers, because pregnant mothers, pregnant women have a human right in this country to make their own decisions about health during pregnancy. Something like that. That's an observation. It's something that's written into our rules of and constitution, our national laws, and therefore it would override whatever that treaty, international treaty for everybody, says. But the World Health Organization have written in a clause saying not allowed any observations. Sorry about that. None of that. No, not allowed any. We're not interested. So But worst of all, the amendments, the regulations have been upgraded by themselves to internationally binding. So they went from being, first of all, they took out human rights, human dignity, and fundamental freedoms, took all those out and put in compliance, equity, and some other horrendous thing that can be measured, presumably by AI, and found to be whatever it is, rather than the human experience and authority acknowledged at all. The other thing they did was they took out all the places where it said non-legally binding, took them all out, 300 places, and replaced them with shall. So these things that were recommendations are now legally binding. It's a shockingly long document, intended to be mind numbing, but in fact the repercussions for human race are existential, quite serious, very, very serious. So number 9 reference is about the nuclear, the idea of nuclear decisions being made by AI. Now the thing is that when there was an international, one really was a threat of nuclear war, it was a Russian, what would it call, alarm center, that was told that the US had released some nuclear bombs, missiles, and so the actual protocol. So you remember 4-minute warning. The actual protocol isn't to. I'll have to stop there because my phone is ringing.